get situated. We'll give a few minutes for people to jump on in here. So come on in, join us. This is for athletes, but it actually will help anybody. But we will be focusing primarily on athletes. So come on in if you're an athlete, curious or wanting to know about your mind game, interested in becoming more consistent. Let's see, what's this say over here? Afraid to click anything. I don't want to lose you. I'm figuring out how to do this here. This is my, I think it's the 3rd or 4th week of doing lives, and I'm finally getting it all figured out. So everything looks like it's situated, except for this one little comment here, and I don't know what that, there we go. Okay, athletes, as the title of this goes, I am over 18. Okay. You don't rise to hope. You don't rise to hope. And I'm going to dive into that today and tell you what that actually means and help you to get an edge over your competition. So it's something that I think every athlete really needs to hear. Oh, hold on. Well, let me fix my light back here. I'm back. So every athlete really needs to hear this. And, you know, that you might think that all of a sudden you're just going to do better. And if you try harder with your mechanics, if you buy the next gadget, the next gizmo, the better this, the better that all of a sudden you'll be performing better. And I'm sure you've tried a lot of that already, and you're still getting the same results. So I want to help you to take a look at things a little bit differently. And that's something that I think every single athlete needs to hear, because it explains so much about why people underperform in the moments that matter most. And any competitive athlete already knows that there's plenty of times that they have underperformed in the moments that matter most. You do not rise to what you hope for under pressure. You fall back on what you have practiced. And so that's the new opportunity that I want to show you today and help you to see. Because a lot of athletes still think better performance is mostly about wanting it badly enough, trying harder, hoping they can just show up when the moment gets big. But performance does not work that way. Confidence does not happen by accident. Composure does not happen by accident. Trust does not happen by accident. And the zone definitely does not happen by accident. You might think it does because you see it kind of show up and disappear, but that's not accidental. Consistency does not happen by accident. Those things, they are shaped by what you repeatedly reinforce. And that is the opportunity I want you as an athlete to hear. You can train the inner patterns that shape performance under pressure. Not just mechanics, not just reps, not just strategy, inner patterns, right? And if I had to give you the one big domino for this whole live, it would be this. Under pressure, you do not become what you wish you were. You perform out of what you have repeatedly practiced in your mind, in your body, in your habits, in your beliefs, and inner patterns. Once an athlete really gets that, mental training stops feeling optional. Now it becomes obvious. And I care so much about this because I've seen so many athletes do the physical work and still get disrupted by the same internal habits over and over again. They train physically, but mentally, they keep rehearsing self doubt and panic after mistakes and rushing and overthinking and fear of failing and pressure and trying too hard, disconnecting from trust. And then when it shows up in competition, they act like it came out of nowhere, but it did not come out of nowhere. It was practiced. And that is the light bulb moment. I have seen athletes with more than enough ability. And, but in the moments, when the moments get bigger and suddenly then they leave themselves, they get tight, they start trying to protect, they stop trusting, they overthink, they lose rhythm, they start making sure instead of competing freely. And that is not random, that is pattern. And when you see it that way, now performance breaks down and stops being some big mystery. And now you can actually work on the right things. So let's go through the false beliefs. All right. So I'm going to have you first look at a false belief that you've been carrying related to how you're going to get from where you are right now in your sport and as an athlete to where you want to be. And this false belief of, well, the better mechanics or more, this gadget or that gadget or these different things. And yet you've been trying all that and you haven't been able to get from point A to point B using that particular vehicle or those vehicles. So the first false belief is the vehicle that you've been attempting to use to get you the results that you want. And this is where athletes think the answer is mostly more external work, like more reps and more mechanics, more technical correction, more strategy. And again, yes, those things matter. But when the issue is what happens inside the athlete under pressure, an external only vehicle cannot fully solve that, because an athlete can absolutely have the skill and still not access it when it really matters. And why is that? That's because they keep rehearsing the wrong internal state. They are practicing panic after mistakes. They're practicing overthinking. They're practicing mistrust and pressure and leaving instinct. They're practicing the very habits that disrupt access to their ability. And that means the problem is not always talent, not always mechanics, not always knowledge. Sometimes the deeper problem is the inner pattern that keeps getting repeated. And that is why my work is not about motivational fluff. It's about helping athletes understand how the mind works, how pressure patterns get built, and how to train those patterns differently. And then I want to help you look at any internal self-belief or false beliefs, right? When it comes to these internal, like that's you personally, your personal internal false beliefs. This is where athletes say things like, maybe I'm just not I'm just not good at this. Maybe I'm not made for this. I'm just weak under pressure. I always choke, right? I'm too emotional. Whoa, where'd my screen go? Maybe I'm just not built for big moments. Maybe this is just who I am. So it's like they're throwing in the towel because they're deciding this is just who I am. And then they just want to give up, right? And I really want to stop here because this matters so much. A lot of athletes are making identity statements about what are actually trained patterns. And that's a huge difference. Not identity, but patterns. A self-doubt pattern, a panic pattern, a pressure pattern, a disconnection pattern, a pattern of leaving trust the moment something feels bigger. And if it is a pattern, it can be changed. And that is the hopeful part, because now the athlete stops asking, what is wrong with me? Right? And they start asking, what have I been practicing? And that is where the real work actually begins. And that is exactly why the framework I created helps, because I help athletes to understand what they are reinforcing, both consciously and subconsciously, and how to build better inner habits that support performance instead of disrupting it. So, no, this is not just for naturally confident athletes. This is not just for people who never feel pressure. This is not just for the lucky few. This is trainable. All right. And then another false belief that I want to look at with you is the external false belief. And that's when you point the finger out there. You got 3 pointing back at you when you're pointing out there. So we all have these external false beliefs. And that is where athletes say, well, I'd be better if coaches were different, if the pressure were lower, if the environment were cleaner, if fewer people were watching, if there was less of a crowd, if those people weren't talking, if the stakes weren't so high, if that one thing hadn't happened, if circumstances were more ideal. And yes, I understand that, but performance will always involve challenges. That's part of the point. So there will always be pressure. There will always be eyes on you. There will always be moments that matter. There will always be variables you do not control. So if your entire game depends on external ease, then you stay fragile. So the answer is not waiting for perfect conditions. The answer is learning how to not reinforce the wrong internal pattern inside real conditions. And that is what makes performance stronger. So let me make this really practical for you. The next time you feel pressure, ask yourself, what am I practicing right now? All right? Am I practicing trust or panic? Am I practicing presence or overthinking? Am I practicing recovery or self-attack? And that question changes a lot because it brings awareness right into the moment. It reminds the athlete, I am not just reacting, I am reinforcing something. Now let's transition for a moment. As if this is resonating with you, it's, you already know this on some level. And it's not just about wanting to do better. This is about what you keep rehearsing internally every single day, what you keep building, what state you keep reinforcing, what patterns keep showing up when the moment gets bigger. And that is exactly why I created what I created for athletes, the different products and services, because athletes do not need one more random quote, one more, magazine article that tells them a little tip that they can do. They need a system. They need a framework. They need a process. So here's the stack that I offer. And I offer 2 ways to enter my work as far as online courses. There's a lot of other products and services on my website, dawngrant.com. But as far as my online course, your self-study at home, there's 2 paths. There's the main path, and that's the monthly subscription option. Inside of that, the athlete gets, my exclusive framework that I've created for transforming your mind, your habits, your beliefs, your patterns, your programming. It's 21 video lessons, each around an hour and a half to 2 hours. That includes one hypnosis audio that's a training tool throughout the entire 21 lessons, the 21 in training, the process that that you go through those lessons. The Mind Master Collective, which is a private community for only those that are participating in my work. So there's lots of like-minded people there for support. Monthly dialogue with Dawn, which is me in a group session answering questions live. And then I have years of these recorded live dialogue with Dawns. So those monthly dialogue with Dawns have all been recorded, and they're in an archive that you have access to all of them. So that's the main. And then the optimal path is deeper, and it's lifetime access. So the main was monthly subscription. The optimal is lifetime access with one payment or several payments to that one payment. Does that make sense? So the optimal path is deeper, lifetime access. It's the full 21 lesson framework again. And instead of one hypnosis audio, there's like 19 hypnosis audios. They're lesson specific. They're fed to you with the exact lesson that it correlates with. You still get the Mind Master Collective private community with all the like-minded people there. The monthly dialogue with Dawn, Q&A, that is live. And then all of this, several years of those monthly live Q&As. So that matters because some athletes want to step in monthly, and some already know they want the full system and the fuller hypnosis support and lifetime access to the work. And so that is what I have available. That's the opportunity for you. You're not just getting information, you're getting a full framework, subconscious reinforcement, a community, ongoing support, and years of replay support that helps you, to stop practicing the states that hurt your performance and start building better ones on purpose. So if this speaks to you and you are tired of hoping you will show up better under pressure while reinforcing the same old inner patterns, then this is the time to take the next step for sure. So choose the level that fits you best, whether it's the main or the optimal. You'll find those on my website, dawngrant.com. Start here in the menu, the drop down, and there's an entire page for athletes. So there's other products and services on there, but I'm specifically talking to you right now about the online course and the community that comes with that and the other things I mentioned that comes with it. So optimal or main, because you do not rise to hope. Right? You perform out of what you have practiced, whether you have practiced that on purpose or not. And if you are ready to start practicing something better, that's going to contribute to consistency in your peak performance, and that shows up in your scores and all, then that's exactly, who and what I created this for. So thanks for being here in this live. Simone, I see you, and Janie, and Corn Dog, and Kimmy Cat, and Lisa, Mimi, Janie Jean. I will see you all in the next live, if not in my Mind Master Collective community and in my online course, because I am happy to help you. That is what I'm here for. So you have a great weekend. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the next live. Adios, everybody.